We are It's Just a Hill, a cycling club that promotes inclusion, judgment-free, with no gatekeepers. Focused on creating content from behind the handlebars to in the studio, It's Just a Hill is producing videos and podcasts to spread the message that cycling is for everyone. We are focused on reminding everyone that riding your bike can help you overcome any obstacle, because after all, it's just a hill.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill podcast. I am John Stenning, and I am here with someone who I've never maybe even called him by his full name, but more just his pseudonym on Strava.
Yes.
So which name should we go with? Should we go with Cal Good?
Yeah, Cal Goodhouse.
Yeah, okay.
Cal Good was my Instagram handle, and then I just went with that on Strava
and
too.
it works on Strava.
Yeah.
And we met on Strava, essentially. Not many people in my life have I met on Strava.
Yeah, that was kind of a new thing because I moved to Rhode Island during COVID.
Yeah.
There were no group rides. I didn't know anybody, so I just kind of went out and tried to get KOMs.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Which is kind of
a
weird thing. Just sort of through that, ended up meeting the GOM riders.
Yep. Grumpy old men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys, Whithill as a result, and you guys, which has been great.
Yeah, cool.
So,
yeah. Cal, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
I love that you just gave yourself a better intro than I gave you, I think.
Yeah.
You sort of set yourself up there. Cal, before we get into cycling, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do? What is your life about? And why do you like bikes?
Good question. So I am now an archivist and part-time librarian. Moved to Rhode Island 2 years ago, but I've lived in New England my whole life. Grew up in Connecticut, lived in Boston for about 12 years. I really got into cycling there.
Yeah.
And cycling was a huge part of my life.
Grew up in Connecticut and then moved to Boston later in life.
Yeah, went to Wheaton College, which is in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then right after graduating, moved up to Boston.
Yeah.
And then just moved down here with my partner 2 years ago.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah.
And you started riding when you lived in Boston?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much immediately after college, kind of got into it. So if you want the whole story, which
I would like it.
Kind of a long story.
I mean, yeah.
So the truth is, I was a huge pothead in college. That's kind of my whole identity, actually.
Oh yeah. So were you wearing drug rugs all the time?
No, not so much that, but just I was just high all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Very poor impulse control when it comes to pot. So it's wake up and do a bong rip.
I understand this.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Just
how that could happen.
Pretty much high all day.
Sure.
Every day.
Yeah.
And then graduated, moved up to Boston with some friends, had no job prospects.
Yep.
No aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
And
what were you studying in college?
I was a Russian studies major.
Wow.
Yeah. Just also pick something that
Sure.
I had no idea what I was going to do with it, and just ended up with it. So
making decisions at that time, making big life decisions at that age of your life is silly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of graduated and realized pretty quickly that I needed a hobby or something else because I had nothing.
Yeah.
I remember I was actually sort of seeing this girl at the time. She said something to me what do you and your stoner friends even do? Just get high and stare at each other all day? I was like,
wow.
fuck.
Really cut you down.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shit. So I realized I needed a hobby, but I didn't think of myself as being athletic at all. So I had there was these crappy old 3-speed bikes that I found in the basement of the apartment that I was living in.
They were just there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had this crazy notion of all right, this is going to be my hobby now. I'm going to take old vintage bikes, fix them up, and sell them or ride them or whatever. And because in Cambridge at that time, this is 2009, 2008, riding single speeds or fixies or vintage bikes was the cool thing, you know. So that was my idea, is that I was going to fix up these bikes, and pretty much I just take them apart, and that was it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You just enjoyed the sort of tinkering with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd sort of I bought a book at the bookstore about bike repair for dummies and things like that, and so I'd do a little bit of work on them, And then my father gave me his Peugeot road bike
cool.
from the 1970s because
Nice.
I told him that I was trying to do that.
And he just still had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had had it set up on an indoor trainer for a while. The seat post was frozen. Wouldn't move. Yeah. So I actually did a little bit of work on it myself, and then kind of got to a point where I was stuck. So I took it to a bike shop, the Harris Cyclery, where I actually ended up working later in life. Yeah. I took it to them, and for like $200, they got it up and running for me. And so then I started riding that, and pretty much realized right away that I loved riding. I had like other bikes before, but never really like a road bike. Right. And so that feeling was something that like I just clicked with immediately. And it was something I actually felt really good at for the first time. Like, 'cause I never felt...
Did you play sports or anything growing up?
Well, I'd done a little bit of cross country and swimming. Yeah. But like by the time I was like junior or senior, I quit that stuff because like I never really enjoyed it that much. Never thought of myself as being athletic or competitive. I sort of hated the pressure of like competing.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So, but suddenly on a bike, I actually felt like I was good at something. Yeah. So sort of slowly got more and more into riding. Like I knew right away that like I wanted to be a cyclist, but I was still a little timid about it.
How old are you at this point? 20?
Well, no, I've been like 23.
23.
Yeah.
Right. So right out of college.
Yeah. Right out of college. And so, yeah, just slowly over time got more and more into it. Like I started commuting right away, I think.
What was riding like I work in Boston sometimes. Yeah. I see people on bikes. Yeah. It seems dangerous. There are bike lanes.
I think when I first started, like I'd start on the bike path around the Charles River. Okay. And there's the Minuteman Bikeway that goes from Cambridge up to Boston. But I did pretty quickly. I got like a Mazzi single speed. Oh yeah. That I would ride around the city on, and I was one of those people who would just try to ride as fast as they could. Oh yeah. Through the city. Yeah. Because sort of there was that like messenger there's bike culture and stuff like that, and those people who like run red lights and things like that. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exhilarating. Sure, it might not be the safest thing, but it's exciting.
So did that, got a road bike also. Did end up getting doored on Mass Ave in Arlington. Damn. Pretty good at one point.
Damn. That's a nightmare.
Yeah. Actually just clipped the edge of the door with my right brake lever. And that flipped me through the air. Landed on my right side, split open my elbow, had to get stitches and stuff. It wasn't that bad. It could have been a lot worse, in hindsight. But I think I did slow down a little bit on the main roads after that. But also, like I said, I got the road bike, started doing longer, like 50-mile loops up in Lexington.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then...
would you just ride from Cambridge?
Yeah, I either lived in Brighton or Cambridge. Those are like the two areas I bounced back and forth from. And so I'd just sort of shoot over. Generally, if you go sort of northwest of Boston, that's the best way to kind of get out in the country. Okay. Riding up to the North Shore is pretty good too. Yep. Generally, riding south it sucks unless there's one ride you can do from like Boston to Cape Cod, but getting out of the city that way kind of sucks. Yeah. Same with riding through Newton, just a mess. Yeah. But anyway, and then slowly, got more and more into it. Hated the job I had, so I decided I wanted to quit my job. So I worked at a bike shop for about 5 years, 2 different shops, and that was great. And then, by
repairing
that point,
bikes or sales?
Sales mostly, yeah. I did end up, I spent a month out in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, cool.
And did, they have the United Bicycle Institute out there, which is like a bike repair school, teaching you how to repair bikes and stuff.
So cool.
Yeah, I went out there.
Did you say for a month?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple like week or 2 week long courses.
Through the shop that you were working for? Is that how that worked?
No, I kind of just did it on my own. Yeah. Because I had a pretty good job working as a manager at the Boston College bookstore. So I'd saved up some money. Yeah. And I was like, I hate this job, so I just quit. And paid for myself to go out there for a month.
That's awesome.
Because, bike maintenance is something that like I can kind of do, but I haven't had that much confidence at times. So just wanted to do that to kind of help get my foot in the door at a bike shop, basically. Sure. So, and it ultimately paid off. Worked in bike shops, started doing group rides, and was really sort of all about biking for like a good 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, decided to go to grad school, do another career change. And so now I've been a lot more focused on like, starting a new career and things like that. So cycling has been sort of less central to my life and identity, which has also been a little bit of a shift as well.
It can be healthy shift.
Yeah. It's been different.
Because like you said, sometimes that competitiveness can get the best of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were like, what the time that you were, I mean, when did you start like racing your bike? Like when in this timetable did it get that sort of amount of competitiveness?
Yeah. Well, I did the first race I actually did was a cyclocross race.
Oh, cool.
Which I think was 2016.
Yeah. In Massachusetts somewhere?
I was in Connecticut. It was actually near where my parents lived.
Yeah.
So I did, and went hard as I could, threw up halfway through, finished mid-pack.
Yeah, nice.
Not very good at cross because I learned how to do the dismounts, but I never learned how to
get back on
remounts.
Yeah, it's harder. I think that part's harder.
Also, I'm a bit like Zoolander in that I can't do right turns as well as I can do left turns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So getting better at that now, but so never really went full in on cross. Yeah. But then the first road race I did was 2017. And for a while I was reluctant to get into road racing.
Yeah.
I'd kind of had this like sort of personal relationship with biking, and I was worried that like by comparing myself to others, I'd be more, I don't know, might lose something. By doing that. But then first race I did was Monson road race.
Yeah.
It's a race in Massachusetts. It's not happening this year, unfortunately. But it's a little circuit race. It's kind of hilly, summit finish. And just like 5 or 10 miles into the race, I was like, oh my God, I love this.
Oh, yeah?
So much
That's
fun.
Cool.
So awesome. Because I'd always been a big fan of pro cycling as well, and had followed that for many years.
Yeah.
And I got 10th in that first race. Cool. Got a couple other top 10s, and the last race I did that year, I got third.
Nice.
In a race.
So the bug had you.
Yeah, kind of racing definitely gets under your skin, especially if you get like close to a podium or close to a win. It's really hard to let it go. I definitely have sort of a love-hate relationship with road racing, because like when I sign up for a race, I'm always like really excited. Just so amped for it. And then like the week before, I started to get nervous. If anybody listening has tips on how to not get nervous before a race, I'd love to hear them.
Right. Like, does it come with time? Is it just a certain personality, right? Because, I'm every time, even I sign up for an event, I'm still like, why am I doing that? Like, because it's obviously it'd be easier to just not do it, right? And just like cop out and not do it. So it's good when you follow through, but there is always something that is like, there's a full cycle to it. Like you said, you're really excited when you sign up, but you go through the motion. You go through different emotions. Yeah,
I've done about 30, 35 races now.
Okay,
And every day, or every time, the night before a race, I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like, just so nervous about crashing or whatever. I don't worry about like getting dropped or anything like that. It's just more about like, getting hurt is the biggest fear for me. But
because it can get dicey. Right.
Which is also, I think, thinking about it objectively, I think is silly, because we could all get
absolutely
hurt. Probably get hurt worse crashing just out on a training ride. Than in an actual race, knock on wood or whatever. But
you think because of traffic, or
I think obviously getting hit by a car is probably the worst, or one of the worst things that could happen to you. In a race. Generally, if you crash, if you go down on pavement, you're going to be fine most of the time. But there's, referees on motorbikes. There's a pace car. There's a follow car.
Right.
There's
it's more controlled.
Marshals out on course at the intersections, things like that. There's an ambulance, all that good stuff to kind of keep you safe out there. Right. So.
Because I mean, I think especially if you're by yourself somewhere in the middle of nowhere, right? It's the visibility is way less than all of those other things being involved in a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
that's just like what you see.
Yeah.
Right? Especially you talk about pro cycling. Like
right.
you see crashes in big races, you hear about crashes at crits.
Right.
But you don't necessarily people aren't necessarily like sharing war stories about like going down like on a training ride.
Yeah. Also, people do get messed up on training rides. Plenty.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like looking at like Crit Drama or whatever, some of those accounts on Instagram, they make crits look insane.
Yeah, they do.
When none of the crits, I haven't done a ton of crits. They're not my favorite thing, but none of the crits the courses I've seen are that scary or anything like that.
Yeah.
Our local crit race, Ninegrit, that course is very forgiving. Like if you overcook a corner, you're just going to go into the grass. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
If you crash, you're just going to slide out on the pavement. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, some of them. I mean, especially when they're using those like wild action cameras, that are super like fisheye and like they're putting like those Instagram accounts. They'll put like some like hype music to it, and it makes it seem. I mean, there's also a lot too much testosterone showing up to those crit races. For sure. A lot of the times,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I mean that can be with anything,
Yeah.
So you said you sort of. Maybe cycling isn't as big in your life as it once was, right? But you still love to ride your bike, right?
Oh, huge.
You're still racing.
Yeah.
Do you have any like current goals or like things that you're like looking forward to this year? I mean, not to like date the podcast too much. This will come out like within the next week and a half or so, right? Sure. It's April. Spring is starting to spring. And it's like getting nice. Like cycling season is upon us. Like, what are you looking forward to this year?
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm just trying to find more time to ride.
Yeah.
It's kind of the biggest thing. I'm working 6 days a week, unfortunately. So that's sort of put a damper on my plans for this year. If you'd asked me a couple months ago, I actually sort of wanted to get back into like randonneuring, like brevet riding.
Yep.
Doing 100-mile rides, 200-mile rides.
Yeah.
Which sort of before I got into racing, was something I wanted to do a lot. There's a group called the New England Randonneurs who I've done a couple events with.
Yeah, you turned me on to these folks. Yeah.
So what they do is a 200-kilometer ride, and then a 300, and then a 400, and then a 600, and there's also 1,200-kilometer rides that you can build up to. The biggest one is Paris Brest Paris that happens every 4 years.
Yeah.
And I know some people who have done that.
It's 1,200 Ks or
yeah.
Wow.
My buddy Matt Roy, who I used to ride with up in Boston, he's really big into those things. Just goes out and crushes them. So at one point, I had thought I really wanted to focus on that discipline, that type of riding.
Yeah.
And then got into racing, and I'd sort of considered again, partially inspired by all the centuries that you do, and things like that. I had kind of wanted to get back into that. But again, unfortunately, don't quite have the fitness for it. And I'm also...
That's also a time suck.
Yeah, huge time suck.
Yeah.
And same thing, I'm a Cat 3 now. Like I upgraded last year. And so...
We'll put a little round of applause in the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome.
And so, but that also is a big fitness jump, especially because a lot of the races now... race organizers aren't offering dedicated Cat 3 fields.
Oh, okay.
They're combining them with Cat 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
And so,
Spicy.
I'm a little hesitant to jump in at my current fitness level.
Yeah.
So maybe things might change. Hopefully they do in the next couple months. I will do some races, but actually been thinking about signing up for something like the Greylock Challenge.
Yeah.
Because I do need something to motivate myself to kind of get out there more.
Right. Sign up for an event and
it's an event that's not a race, but kind of still has that challenging aspect to it.
Yeah. People are going to start to think that like we're getting paid to promote the Greylock Challenge on this podcast, which we aren't.
Right.
But it really is like the ultimate event, I think.
Yeah.
Because there ended up being 3 of us together. Me, Brian, and Noah were there. We rode together. And it was like, we pushed on certain efforts, right? You have to push. It's 13,000 feet of climbing over 100 miles.
Yeah.
There's times where you're like taxing yourself. But you're also like really enjoying it and like stopping at every rest stop and like making sure that you're fueled up. I mean, we were on the bikes like all day, and it was. I mean, we're signed up again. I think all of us plus others, and it just like. As much as I like signing up for races, there was still like an anxiety and a nervousness about going and riding 100 miles and doing 13,000 feet of climbing. Yeah. But it wasn't like, it was one of the most rewarding rides I've ever done afterwards, right? Yeah. And, we like went up there the night before, did a shakeout ride, just like hung out. It was like really a fun weekend,
Yeah. Well, it is, that area is extremely hard to ride in, I think. Well, not hard, but can be very challenging. I actually had one of the worst days on the bike.
Oh, really? In that area?
Yeah. Doing a similar course that's called, I think it's like the Berkshire Boondoggle or something like that. It's an 80-mile course that goes over, is it Holly Mountain? Or what's the other one?
The other one, like near Greylock?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's like Holly Mountain Road or something like that. But anyway, it's a very steep climb. Yeah. Goes over Holly and then Greylock, and there's like one more big one before you get back to the start. But I had done Kankamangas like 3 or 4 days before. This is in like April. So I'd done Kankamangas, and then my buddy said he wanted to go out to the Berkshires. So we went out there, and it was a windy day. Yeah. And we had to like take a detour and go backtrack like 10 miles because there was a road closure. Yeah. And I just knew, just like 20 miles in, that like I didn't have the legs. Yeah, yeah. And
it's a lot of climbing.
Every time the road went up, my lower back was just killing me. Yeah. And it was like one of the worst days I've ever had on the bike out there. Yeah. And just there was McDonald's that I had passed on the way in. So I was like telling myself I'm just gonna get McDonald's after the ride. Yeah. And so
we did that.
I finally did.
We did, yeah.
But this was like the least satisfying fast food I've ever had.
I'm sorry. This was like, I feel like we had the opposite experience in that area. Have you ridden around there otherwise?
I've done Greylock one other time. Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool. It's great.
Yeah. Greylock's a fantastic climb.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I really like
Feels like real cycling.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like I like riding in Rhode Island, but like specifically where I am near the water, it's just like so flat. Like I gotta go like 10 miles to like get to a hill. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's once I'm out of this neighborhood, I like to climb hills. Like I really enjoy it. Yeah. And I feel like it makes me stronger. Right. So it's kind of like you look at it that way. Like it is a challenging place to ride. People that like ride for real train around there sometimes. For sure. That's like why it is that hard. That area and like into New York.
Yeah. If you're gonna do something like the Mount Washington hill climb or a race like Green Mountain, you have to kind of like go out to places like the.
You need those climbing legs, like those kind of climbing legs, right? Yeah. Not like Exeter. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, over 13,000 feet in 100 miles. But right, like that isn't specifically a race. So you're sort of in a different mindset, you know? You're also like willing to maybe like take an extra 2 minutes at a rest stop or something, and like... Yeah. So come do it with us.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to talk about pro cycling with you.
Sure.
I think you are the person that I talk about pro cycling with the most. Yeah. We're almost at the end of the Spring Classics. Paris-Roubaix is this weekend. Yep. This will come out after that.
Okay.
But do you have a pick for Paris-Roubaix?
Well, shit. It's so hard to pick these races. I mean...
It is hard. Yeah. I don't know if I have a pick.
Yeah. Well, I guess the latest news is that Wout's going to be there, but he's going to just be domestiquing because he doesn't have the fitness.
Yeah, right. And they're hiding his training rides on Strava.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to speculate too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, I don't know. Vanderpool's the obvious pick for Paris-Roubaix.
Who famously doesn't hide any data on Strava.
Yeah, that's wild.
You can look at everything. Yeah. And I don't know if have you ever looked at it?
Yeah.
He rides Zone 2 all the time, and it makes me feel so good about those decisions.
Well, have you seen some of the data from his wins?
Are out of control.
The Amstel Gold race from like 2019. Yes. It's just amazing. But anyway.
Yeah. Like 6 minutes at 800 watts, like or something, just like next level. Yeah.
But I do think we have some American riders to be excited about in the classics now, which is a lot of fun for a change. Yeah. We'll see.
So some people that we ride with like don't watch pro cycling. did you said you were watching it before you got into racing. Were you watching it before you got into bikes in general?
No.
Gotcha.
No, sort of about the same time.
Yeah.
That I got into riding.
And what was it? Was it a big event like the Tour de France? Or?
Yeah, probably, because that's like the one that you actually can watch at first, because they have it on NBC.
Right.
Also read a bunch of books about like the history of the tour and biographies of Eddie Merckx and Hino and things like that. So. Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite like cycling like legend?
Oh boy,
like someone that you enjoyed reading about or watching about? Because I grew up watching a lot of pro cycling. Mm-hmm. My dad influenced that in me, and so like we would watch the Tour every year, but still like I even know what like the Giro and the Vuelta were when I was a kid. Yeah. I didn't really pay attention to them as much, but I was always excited for the Tour. Mm-hmm. It's like the same time as my birthday, and it is just like. To me, one of the best like summer experiences, Definitely. Like getting to watch, and it's on like during the day because it's in Europe or it's in France specifically, mostly. But like if you're home from school on some I don't know, for whatever reason it was really exciting, and I was watching it like before Lance got big, but then like into that. Oh wow! And so that was like watching the Bulls. Yeah. Like watching like the Bulls with Michael Jordan. That was. Whoa! This team.
So, did you feel discouraged or like disillusioned with cycling when he got?
Not with cycling, but with him. Yeah, with him very much. So
I feel like there's a lot of people now who, because of that era, are like whenever somebody wins, they think that they're just doping.
Oh, interesting.
And like sort of don't believe in the sport anymore because of that stuff.
Yeah. So I tend not to take sports like that seriously.
Okay, yeah.
I feel that I also love baseball, which is another sport riddled with like steroids, right? Sure. And the steroid era of baseball was around that same time, and like that's for me that was like formative years. Yeah. So like baseball was like really big for me. But like I tend not to like get upset that people have these like big contracts, and I mean, does it suck that some people cheat and get an unfair advantage? Yes. Yeah. Like, that sucks. Now, like, does it also suck for Lance to be like, I don't regret it? Yes, I think that sucks. Yeah. But, like, does that mean that I think, like, Pog is doping? No. I just think he's a next-level talent. Yeah. I think he's 1 in a trillion,
Yeah, Pog is pretty incredible. And the fact that he can actually win one-day classics is also really amazing. And I think actually I would argue might be evidence for the sport being cleaner now. Yeah. Because in the past, like, it was really the 90s when everybody was on EPO that you had guys who would just be sprinters, just be Grand Tour winners, just be one-day classics riders.
They were guys would drop out of the Tour after the sprinting stages, after the climbing stages, because they were only going after the polka dot jersey. Yeah, and they were out.
And the fact that Pod can actually compete on the cobbles, as well as in Grand Tours, is pretty amazing.
Because so you feel like because it's like a more even playing field. Or?
Yeah, I think so. Some people also argue that because younger riders are actually able to compete more now is further evidence that there's less doping in cycling.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of young stars right now. You talk about American cycling.
Yeah.
2 wonderkins.
Yeah.
I can't think of the other guy's name. Brandon McNulty.
Magnus.
And Magnus, of course.
And Sepp Kuss, actually.
Oh, of course,
He's got lots of...
right, and like he's been around for like a few years, so you don't think of him, but he's very young.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny that education first fosters a lot of American riders, but none of them really seem to do that well, generally.
No, they seem to like... I don't want to say flame out, but go on to different things. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's like the culture of that team too. They are like, it's cool that they're an American team. It's cool that they sign a lot of American riders. They seem like really like free spirited and open minded. Like Lachlan Morton could be on the Grand Tour team. Yeah. But they just like let him like do his thing, and he's gonna go race cross country mountain bikes and then do the alt tour and make a bunch of money for them because people are gonna talk about it and sell a bunch of jerseys, and like their brand is great. I mean, Rafa is a questionable company, like with like being bought up by the Waltons and everything. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that everything that EF does is correct. You know what I mean? Right. I sit here wearing a Rafa Palace hoodie.
Good.
Good.
I think there's a lot of questionable sponsors in cycling. I mean, any corporation obviously is going to be problematic. Yeah. But I think we are in a golden age of cycling.
Oh, it's amazing.
The rivalry between Van der Poel and Wout is so much fun. The rivalry between Pog
and Primos
is amazing. Also, like another like really classic sports story.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with Bernal and
another young
guys. Yeah.
Remco.
So,
a lot of exciting cycling.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have what is like sort of your favorite? What's your favorite type of road? What's your favorite type of like pro race to watch? Is it a Grand Tour? Is it a Spring Classic? Like, what stands out to you as the yearly circuit comes around? Yeah. What's like the one thing that you look forward to?
Well, I love the Grand Tours. Yeah. Definitely, the Tour is kind of the biggest one, but all the races sort of have their own flavor.
Yeah.
Just because they're 21 stages, sprawling, they're epic, and there's so many great stories that come out of them. It's hard. I think probably the Grand Tours is definitely my favorite in terms of.
Yeah, you get so much. It's like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, of following the same storyline. It's
right.
Fun. Yeah.
In terms of one-day races, probably the Ronde van Vlaanderen.
Yeah.
Is my favorite.
Yeah. A lot of people would say that. Flanders was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I mean, I don't know. It's Roubaix also gets a lot of adoration.
Sure. Yeah. Last year's Roubaix was amazing.
Amazing. And apparently they're talking about moving it to the fall now as well, but we'll see.
Because it'll be muddy all the time?
I don't know, just to like lighten up the calendar. It's true. They've
that's
got
fine. I'm fine. Like,
most of the
sure.
But actually, I went to the Ronde van Vlaanderen.
Amazing.
In 2016.
In 2016.
Yeah.
Who won that year?
Sagan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the 100th edition.
Yes.
And Sagan won in the rainbow jersey.
Amazing.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it was great. I had applied for a job with Trek Travel, which is like a travel company, and didn't get it.
Yeah.
And was very crestfallen. So I was like, I'm just going to book my own trip to Europe.
Okay.
And go.
Yep.
So I just went by myself.
Love that.
Flew into Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Spent a couple days riding around there, and then took a train down to Oudenaarde, which is where the race finishes. It starts in Bruges, I think. Or at least it did that year. And then, but they pass through Oudenaarde once, go out into the hills, and then come back and finish there. And the women's race starts and ends there as well. So it's just a huge cycling festival.
Yeah.
The
town is like shut down, right?
And,
it's like Boston Marathon.
Everybody's
level.
just there, and it's like an ancient city as well too.
Right.
So it's beautiful, but
better culture than Boston.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic time.
Yeah.
And definitely want to go back. I'm sort of kicking myself because I didn't do the Sportive. They have the Flanders Sportive the day before where you can ride the course.
You ride the course?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is sort of like on my bucket list now of like, want to go do the Paris-Roubaix.
Wow.
Sportive.
I didn't really know this was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
We got to plan a trip.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that.
Definitely.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Get the club and go over there.
So you went to Amsterdam. You said you rode around. Did you bring a bike with you? Did you rent a bike? What was that like?
No, I ended up renting.
Renting a bike.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then subsequently when I got my custom titanium bike that I got from the shop that I worked at, I got a bike with SNS couplers because I thought I was going to like travel more and do that, and I just never used it. It's just such a waste of money.
Still cool.
But it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Kind of like cycling in a nutshell.
Right.
Kind of a waste of money, but cool. Looks pretty cool. Cool to us at least.
Thought I would try something trendy. And no, whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to get back to Europe sometime.
Yeah, that'd be
back
awesome.
To some pro races.
Yeah. Be really fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a hard day that would be.
Oh my God.
Go ride Flanders.
Yeah, you end up with like blistered hands and all that shit. Yeah.
Bouncing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I would like to talk about, I don't know why, this is how I move on from segments now, I guess. I would like to talk about, I just couldn't find a good segue.
Nice.
shaving legs and misconceptions.
Okay.
This is something that recently, this is something that I've thought about more than once. We've never talked about it on the podcast.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you shave your legs during cycling season.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah. Currently my legs are hairy because
I've
not actually been out on a super warm day yet.
Sure.
But yes, generally, as soon as it's, over 60 degrees, I shave the legs and get out there. Yeah.
Why do you shave your legs?
Well, I never did before I started racing. That was sort of the thing. It's like, all right, I'm going to race, so I should shave my legs now.
Yeah.
And so I do sort of associate it with a certain level of seriousness when it comes to the sport.
Yeah.
And not to be judgmental towards other people, because I've met a lot of people with hairy legs who are stronger than me.
Oh,
I should say.
Yeah.
But, in part, when you race, it is supposedly more likely that you might crash.
Yeah.
And so shaving your legs prevents you from, or makes at least cleaning and caring for road rash
way easier,
a lot less painful. Yeah.
I think a lot of people think it's just for aero gains.
No.
And just for saving watts.
Although supposedly there is
there have been some studies and there are marginal gains, right? And it's one of those over 40 kilometers at 30 kilometers an hour, you're going to shave off 6 seconds. It's one of those, right? Which is okay. But it's not just that.
Yeah.
Right? I think pros do it because, you're more likely to go down. And and also pros are getting massages all the time.
Right.
So a massage is going to be way better on your legs if you don't have hairy ass legs.
Yeah. You'll get ingrown hairs and shit like that if you don't shave your legs.
Right.
So,
I think I like the way my legs look without hair on them. I'm not ashamed to say that shit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time people are they're scared that it's too effeminate, and that's bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, not to be judgmental. If you don't feel like shaving your legs,
oh yeah, that's fine. But don't talk shit about people that do.
But you definitely get a little more muscle definition.
It looks great. Yeah.
And I don't know, wearing bike shorts with hairy legs does not look the best.
I don't like the way it will pull on the hair on my legs either. You know what I mean? Similar to the massage thing. And I'm not I don't have the hairiest legs in the world. Right. But I think most people, especially people outside of cycling, think it's just to be more aerodynamic. And while it might be somewhat aerodynamic, there are many other ways to save watts.
Oh yeah.
Just your positioning on the bike or losing a few pounds, right? It's going to be way better than shaving your legs. It's not just about that.
Yeah.
And it comes down to personal preference.
Yeah.
Which I think to me, that's a big thing that's present in cycling, and especially in cycling around, in club cycling, and really people that aren't pros by any means, right? We get competitive sometimes and we race, but we have jobs,
right?
We're not, the cycling is not paying the bills, and so people are quick to judge and be you should shave your legs because, or you shouldn't shave your legs, and everyone should just shut the hell up.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just something I saw some people talking about, so I thought,
really?
Yeah, I did. I recently saw some people in a group chat talking about shaving legs, and I think they were focused on the aero part of it.
Okay.
And the marginal gains of gaining watts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when I first started cycling, I would have thought that I'll never shave my legs like that.
Oh, same. Yeah. When I first started cycling, though, I never thought I would leave the bike path.
Yeah.
Look at me now, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I had short socks and
sure.
My,
yeah, it's an evolution.
Tilted and all that shit.
Yeah,
so,
it's an evolution. Yeah. We're all different people. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here before we get out of here.
Yeah.
There's this thing that we did on the last roundtable is something that we did on the episode with Jake, but amateur pro tips.
Okay.
Do you have I'm sure you have lots, obviously you have lots of knowledge. I would love to have you come back and do a roundtable episode with more people.
Okay.
Do you have sort of an amateur pro tip, something that you can send us off with?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, sort of a kind of a general one is seek out.
You have to shave your legs.
Yes,
No, I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm sorry. To
Shave your legs and no, seek out people to ride with who are stronger than you and more experienced.
Love that.
Because that's how you're really going to get better.
Yeah.
And learn how to ride is from meeting people. That is probably the one biggest thing that I miss about living in Boston.
Yeah.
Was that the community there? We had like lots of really experienced riders, lots of really strong guys, and people to kind of learn from. Yeah. And I'll share one that I learned from Richard Fries, cool. Who's the Notchog Epic organizer. Yeah. I ran into Richard once. I was on my way back from a century that I was doing. Yeah. And I had parked my bike, and he saw it, and he told me, never if you're tired or if you're at the end of a big ride, never park your bike in the big ring, because then when you have to get going again, it's going to cost you more energy.
Way more energy, yeah.
And I found that when I'm cracked and I'm like really, broken at the end of a ride, if I have to even come to a stop sign or something, I'll throw it into the little ring. Sure. Because then to get going again,
it's way easier.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, being in the wrong gear at a stoplight sucks.
Oh my God, yeah. And if your legs are already tired, then forget it.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I think those are two great tips. Yeah. Riding with people stronger than you. I think a lot of people will be more intimidated by riding with someone stronger than them. Like they're going to push them past their limit or something. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think that's more like you just like being. That's happened to me. That's happened to me when I rode with you. Sure. When we first met, and you were this guy that I knew on Strava that had a bunch of KOMs, right? Like I didn't know you like we know each other now. It was like I'm gonna go ride with Cal. Like I better like make sure. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you were probably in better shape than I was.
I honestly don't remember, but I remember. Because also you like would seek out more hilly routes and like you were gonna put in efforts that I knew on places that like you had put in good efforts before, and that's good, that's exciting. Like that's how I feel about former guest Jake. Yeah. Well, yeah, Jake's very strong. Strong as hell, right? Yeah. Next level strong. I love riding with him. Yeah. Because I'm like fuck, but it's like a good workout, right?
Yeah. Well, generally the guys who are strongest actually don't have as much ego, and they're often the guys who on rides aren't attacking on the hills or anything like that. Absolutely. And will go back for other riders to help them because they've got less to prove or something like that.
That's another thing too. Yeah. Everyone seemingly has something to prove. You know? Like we could sit here and talk about that, and like I'm guilty of it. Yeah. You let your ego get the best of you, that competitiveness get the best of you, right? Like we talk about Strava, and it's something that is like constantly comparing you with other riders instead of just against like your own achievements. Yeah. Right? Because everyone has different days, right? Like I had a nice long ride today, but I averaged like 17 and a half. I just wasn't willing to push it. I wanted to spend like 3 or 4 hours on the bike. Right. And I was like, if I push it, that is going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours, Yeah. I'm just going to call it early. So I'd rather just different things on different days, right?
Totally. And that's one of the very unique things about cycling is that it's a sport, a competitive sport. Yeah. As well as a means of transportation, as well as
absolutely.
Just a hobby. Yeah. So it's sort of all different, a myriad of things for different people.
Right.
So.
Right. Really, like, because you ride your bike to work.
Yeah.
You're not going out and hammering on your rides to work.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah, sometimes.
One of these days, I've got to get that KOM from the bottom of 138 up to
where is it? Oh, it's up? Up that hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't love riding on 138.
No. Well, actually, I realized that I can, once I get my single speed cross bike up and running, there's a cut through that goes from the bike path up to Biscuit City.
Oh, really?
So I can ride the bike path, cut through the woods, and avoid 138 completely.
That's nice.
That'd be amazing.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Check him out on Strava for his heat maps.
Mixed terrain commutes.
Yeah, that's great. Single speed cross bike. That's what you've got working on right now.
Yeah, me and Whit. It's in his garage. We're trying to build that up. Hopefully this weekend I finish it.
You have all the parts for it and everything?
Yeah, potentially we're having a little compatibility issue with the chain length and the chain rings. Yeah, I think we got it worked out. So
Yeah, that's like what I'm waiting on for this. I point at the bike like, this is just an audio podcast. But
yes. John has a neon green Klein here.
Yeah. And I want to convert it to a drop bar, but like I haven't done anything to it. I haven't done anything to it. That's just like how it came out of the box.
Yeah.
Maybe this summer.
Awesome.
It's not a cheap hobby.
No, not by any means.
No,
but it's rewarding.
It is. Yeah. Well, Cal, thank you so much.
Hey, man, this is awesome.
Is there anything else you'd like to say or talk about?
No.
We covered more than I thought we would. Thank you. This was a great conversation.
Ride safe out there, listeners, and have fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Cal.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. It's very challenging work.